And do you see that continuing, if so?
Yeah, I think if you look at Russia's actions around the world, if you look at what they've done in Ukraine, if you look at what they're doing, still doing in Syria, as we watch the Russian government back the regime of Bashar al-Assad, they continue with their aerial bombardments of Syrian civilians, killing innocent men, women, and children, including killing rescue workers. We had the privilege of bringing some of those search and rescue workers to the State Department last week, the White Helmets. And if I can just mention this briefly, we brought them into the State Department to screen a documentary that was about the White Helmets and the good work that they do in Syria and the work that we support on their behalf because they're helping to save Syrian lives. Russia is responsible because it continues to back the government of Bashar al-Assad. We've been very clear. We've been tough on Russia. We've been clear about calling them out. I think we've been clear about calling them out in the election meddling. We've spoken extensively about the activities that Russia has been engaged with in other elections that we start to see the fingerprints on. France, remember that last year. Mexico, we've started to see that. Other countries, some European allies have expressed their concern about upcoming elections. So we are very aware of that. We are tough on Russia. We call out Russia, I think, when it is necessary. What has happened in the UK, we remain firmly standing with our ally, the British government. We've had a lot of conversations with the British government over the coming days, so we stand squarely behind them on this.
By the way, who is the we? Because it's not including the President of the United States. He did not come
Andrea,
to that until...
I think you may have heard the President spoke out very clearly about Russia responsibility the other day. I was traveling overseas. I recall seeing the President on the East Lawn making a very strong statement about Russia responsibility. We've been clear.
Only after Nikki
We
Haley
have been
at
clear
the
about
at
Russia
the UN.
responsibility, as has Ambassador Haley. The Department of Defense has been as well. This administration is speaking with one voice about Russia responsibility, and we will not hesitate.
There are credible
May I
reports.
finish? We will not hesitate to call out Russia where Russia is responsible. They have been responsible for some terrible things, and I think, interestingly enough, you've not asked me about Russian sanctions today.
Well,
and the Treasury Department has announced some new significant sanctions on Russia today.
Which
and
has
this
been
is
criticized by the Hill as insufficient. But let me just say...
Let me remind you that sanctions are ongoing. Just because sanctions are put in place on one day, March 15th, does not mean that additional sanctions won't be put in place in the coming days and in the coming weeks and in the coming months. These tend to happen in batches, and we've seen this before and we'll continue to look at this.
There are credible reports from multiple sources in the White House that infuriating the president was Secretary Tillerson's comments about Russia on the airplane and his printed statement Monday night.
I'm not aware of that. If that is the case, I'd refer you back to the White House, and you can ask the White House and the president if the president was upset with the secretary about that. But I think we've been very clear in calling out Russia for its responsibility.
What do you make of suggestions from officials in Moscow that these sanctions that you refer to, the Ides of March sanctions,
is that what they're calling them?
That's what I'm calling them.
Okay.
Are in fact U.S. meddling in the upcoming Russian election?
It's baloney. It's baloney. Sanctions take a long time to put in place. They take a long time to investigate. We've been hard at work at these behind the scenes for months and months. We roll out sanctions when the sanctions are ready to be rolled out by our people who, no offense to our folks who work on sanctions, doing the green eye shade work. They've been hard at work at that, and we rolled them out when they're ready.
But I mean, the idea, you're not trying to get back at the Russian meddling by meddling in President Putin's re-election
You know what?
campaign.
They make lots of wild assertions, and I think that that would be another one. Okay. Okay. Yeah.